Welcome to the Digital Business Evolution Podcast, a place that you can now call home. I know you're creating long-lasting impact in this world, and you absolutely deserve the time, location, career, and financial freedom that you desire. I'm here to guide you with proven strategies, tools, and mindset hacks that I've taught to thousands of business owners. You'll also be hearing from exceptional guests sharing stories of their own personal and business evolution. My name is Jessica DeRose, and I'm here to teach you what I'm learning. We are all inherently worthy, regardless of the number of degrees, awards, and accolades that we've collected along the way. Grab a notebook, a coffee, and enjoy the show. Hello, and welcome back to the show. I am so excited today to be giving you some of my favorite Instagram story hacks. So if you're anything like me, which you probably are because you're listening to this podcast right now, you use social media to create content that's going to help your business. We use social media to generate leads, to use it for free marketing tools. We use it to connect with people, build relationships. There's tons of reasons why any business owner nowadays would be using Instagram or any other social media platform. But I'm talking specifically about Instagram today because that's where I hang out most, and that's where the majority of my clients actually hang out. It's the place that I've built a multiple seven-figure business organically. And so when it comes to Instagram stories, a lot of times people aren't sure what to do, what to say, or how to say it. So not only am I going to talk about some of the Instagram story basics today, but I'm going to be giving you 6 Instagram story must-haves. And these are just based on my experience using the app for the last 8 years. I believe I've been using it for 8 years, which is pretty crazy. So first things first, don't ramble. Don't ramble. Don't just jump on stories to jump on stories. It's kind of like don't post to just post. How many times have you woken up and you've said to yourself, I have to post today? You're like, I have to post. I have to put up a post. When we put something up out of a sort of place of scarcity or lack or fear or need rather than maybe a desire or excitement, right? The energy and frequency to which is behind what we're doing is going to be a really low vibration. But also, typically, that content isn't going to be the most transformational. It's not going to be the most valuable. You're literally just showing up to show up. So a lot of times what I see struggling coaches and entrepreneurs do is they jump on Instagram stories and they ramble. Maybe they don't have a clearly laid out plan. They don't really have a clear intention, or they're just rambling because our ego likes to talk. And our ego often thinks that more is more. But at the end of the day, less is always more. So the faster that you can get a point across, the better. And I know that my podcast episodes can be long, and I love to talk and I love to chat, and I could speak forever, but I try to do it with intention. A lot of times there's just a lot of things that I want to share. So when you get on Instagram stories, do not just talk to talk. Don't show up because you think you have to. Another huge thing that I see holding most people back is that they care a lot about what other people think, and that's totally normal. Again, we're human and we are a tribal community and we want to fit in and survival of the fittest, and so we care a lot what other people think. But this paralyzes a lot of people. It makes people feel like they can't mess up. They have to look a certain way. Hold on, let me put on makeup. Let me fix my hair. Let me make sure everything is perfect. And if I stumble over my words, I have to redo it. So many times I see clients of ours put stories up and they delete them 3 times, 4 times, 7 times before they actually do it, or they don't do it at all because they get so frustrated and down on themselves that they've stumbled over their words, or it took them too many frames. A frame is a 15-second slot. So Instagram stories allows us to speak in 15-second slots 4 times in a row, allowing us to speak for 1 minute before it cuts us off. Of course, you could save those. You could just directly post those, and then you can come on and you can do more frames at another time. But a lot of times people can't squeeze what they want to say into those 15 seconds or maybe 30 or 60 seconds, and so they quit. Stop caring what other people think. I know that's really hard to do. It's also really hard to say. But if you mess up, you're human. And I personally believe, and in my experience building my business, the times that I've tripped up over my words and I sort of did one of those, it actually made me more relatable. It made me more human. It made me more approachable. Now, if you're doing that every single time you're showing up, you probably do want to work on that. You probably do want to make sure that you're mindful of your ums and your likes and your blah, 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 blah type of sounds. But at the same time, every once in a while, it's no big deal. It just makes you more human. You absolutely don't need to have a full face of makeup or perfectly combed hair or a cute outfit on every single time that you're doing an Instagram story. And this goes for men and women and dogs too, right? Something I would encourage you to do, though, is to have good lighting. Oh, Jess, I don't have a ring light. I can't afford that. I don't know where to buy that. No. I didn't say have a ring light. I said just make sure that you have good lighting. So humans are funny. We are all attracted to things that are attractive. We just are. Whether that's an environment, that's a person, we're attracted to things that are attractive. We're drawn into things that are easy to see, easy to read, easy to hear, easy to understand. The human brain always goes to the path of least resistance. And we've actually talked about this before on the podcast. So the path of least resistance is oftentimes our habits, both good and bad. But the path of least resistance is also the stuff that's just easy to consume. It's light. When things feel heavy or hard, we tend to avoid. And so this goes down to the psychology of even somebody looking at your stories where you might have really poor lighting or a really bad angle, which we're going to talk about. And it might be a strain or a struggle for them to consume what you're saying. Now, we recently saw the new Batman movie. I believe it was the new Batman movie. Yes, it was. And it was a really dark movie, like literally dark, not dark in the sense of scary or kind of like a mind trip, but dark in the sense that it was black and dark. It was night. Almost the entire 2.5-hour movie was nighttime. The costumes were dark. It was always raining. And now that's the feel that they wanted us to have. That's the vibe, right? That's what they wanted us to feel when we were watching the movie. Sort of that gloomy, scary, dark, rainy, all of that. But it's literally a dark movie to watch. Now, for me personally, I don't like movies like that. And that was one of my critiques when we left the theater. You know, you ask yourself, did you like the movie? Was it good? Yeah. I think it was a little bit too long, and I think it was a little bit too dark, physically dark. It's like a strain on the eyes, path of least resistance. It made me work to watch it. So if you don't have good lighting, people are working to watch you, but they're also straining, and oftentimes they'll swipe away. So a really quick hack. This goes in photography as well. If you want good lighting, go stand in front of a window. So the window is in front of you and your phone or your camera is in between you and the window. So you're literally facing out the window. You're looking out where the sun is, and you're filming towards yourself as a selfie. You always want the light to be shining at you or towards you. So even when you go outside or you're doing a photo shoot, an impromptu photo shoot with friends, make sure that the light is towards you and the camera is in between you and that person. So if someone's taking a picture of you, the sun should be behind them, facing you, and the camera is in between. Sunshine straight overhead is what causes shadows. So that's not always best. So you want to physically turn your body. You don't have to have a fancy set or a background. You don't even have to have a white wall behind you. But as long as you're standing directly in front of a window, you're going to get better lighting just automatically, and it's totally free. Another thing that you want to think about is the center of your frame. So it's not that you need to be centered. In fact, I believe in movie and film school, they teach you to not be centered. There's the third rule. It's the rule of thirds, where if you've ever watched, now be mindful when you're watching an interview where maybe a news anchor is interviewing somebody, or 60 Minutes. Do people still watch that? I don't know. You're watching, Barbara Walters or whatever that is. Somebody's interviewing somebody, or there's some sort of a B-roll happening where it's an athlete and the B-roll is them practicing their sport. And then it cuts to a clip of them being interviewed. Not the type of interview where it's a press or media interview where they're standing behind the podium, but rather one where they're in their mega mansion and they're sitting in a chair. Notice now, they're generally always over to the side. This is the rule of thirds. Even when people are in New York City and the newscaster is walking down the street and they stop people, are you smarter than a fifth grader? Like, what's your opinion on what's going on right now? They're not centered to the frame. Oftentimes they're slightly off center, just slightly 1/3 over to the side. Again, this just makes it easier for us to consume. It makes it more interesting for us to consume. But what you want to be mindful of when you're doing Instagram stories is that we're usually holding the phone like a selfie. Your face shouldn't be your face shouldn't be cut off. We don't need to be so close that we can see your pores. But at the same time, we don't need to be so far that I barely see your face. And you don't have to be smack dab in the center, but sometimes actually play with it. Take yourself off center just a little bit. What I love to do is take myself off center. And if you're watching our YouTube video of this right now, you can see I'm pretty much centered, slightly off centered, but behind me is a white wall. What it allows me to do on Instagram stories when I have sort of a white wall over my right shoulder or under my left armpit, it actually gives me space to now write text, and it's easy to read. So I don't have to write text on my Instagram stories over my body, over my face, over my shirt, which can sometimes be hard to read, but I've actually created sort of this background for myself. And it doesn't have to be white, but even if you're walking outside, off center yourself. And now you'll have space of what's behind you. Maybe it's the sky, maybe it's the street, maybe you're sitting at a park and there's a tree or grass behind you that now allows you a little bit more space. Try not to stand in front of a crazy pattern. Mostly because when you do put text on your story, which we're going to talk about, you want to make sure it's easy to read. We're going to use tools and features that Instagram Stories allows us to, like the color picker. We're going to use different fonts. We want to be cohesive. We'll talk about all of those things. And I want to make sure that you are utilizing the tools. So there are tools in Instagram Stories where you can justify your text. So you can make it left justified, like a paragraph, center justified, or right justified. You can actually draw on your stories. You can draw arrows on your stories. You can hold the highlighter button down on your stories and make a transparent overlay, which then makes it easier to put font on top of and read. But I want to talk just one more thing real quickly before we get into all of that about the use of Instagram stories. So if you know anything about social media and you've listened to any of my content before, one of the key things that we want to do on social media is create know, like, trust. Know, like, trust is making sure that people know what you do, who you do it for, right? What do you stand for? What do you not stand for? Who do you stand for? What do you know? And how do they know you? So how are they connecting with you? How can you help them? What problems do you solve? The like factor is going to simply be, do they like you? Are you relatable? Do you have things in common? I have an older brother. Me too. I went to University of Rhode Island. Me too. I'm from Jersey. Me too. I build a business online. Me too, right? So are you relatable? Do they like you? Do they like the way that you show up? Do they like the way that you use your hands or your quirks or the way that you dress? This matters. People buy from people, even giant corporations. Last night, Mike and I were running errands and we went into REI, the sporting goods store. People buy from people. Even if you're buying a physical product, we were looking for a bike rack. There are things that you consider. Do I like this company versus this company? Do I like what they stand for? Do I like what they do? Do I like their ads? Do I like their marketing? How does it make me feel? And then the trust factor is, do I trust you? Do you make me feel safe? Do you make me feel comfortable? Do you have client results? Do you have social proof? Do you have testimonials, credibility, authority? All of these things are part of know, like, trust. So Instagram Stories is this incredible tool that we've had now for a few years that basically allows us, lean in, listen, take notes. It basically allows us to be the director, actor or actress, and producer of our own reality TV show. Now, I'm dating myself here, but reality TV, as far as I know, started when I was maybe in middle school. I can remember watching on MTV the dating game Singled Out with, I can't think of her name, Jenny something. Singled Out. It was MTV, this dating game. There were shows like American Idol started when I was in middle school or high school. I think I was in high school. Kelly Clarkson, I definitely was in high school when Kelly Clarkson won, and I believe that was the first year. That was a reality TV show. We had MTV, Real World, Road Rules. I mean, I was in middle school and high school. So that was 30 years ago. 25 years ago. 25 years ago. Reality TV has been around for a really long time. I believe Big Brother and The Amazing Race are some of like the most, and Survivor are like the most watched and viewed and longest reality TV shows that have ever been around. And then over the years, I know I was in like college and high school, we had Laguna and The Hills and all those kids, and then all the Real Housewives. I taught in one of the New Jersey housewife towns, and I got to work with some of those families and those kids. And it was the whole series of all the different housewives. And then there's all these dating games and Love is Blind and all these reality shows. Even things like American Ninja Warrior. My best friend has been on 4 times Angela's been on American Ninja Warrior. Reality TV shows are huge. Of course, the Kardashians, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, and every single offshoot that they've had after. People love to live vicariously through other people. People love to consume what other people are doing. We love to watch what other people are doing. Give me a sneak inside their life. Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie, remember that show? Gosh, years ago, they went to go work in regular 9-to-5 type jobs, and their bosses maybe didn't know who they were. And there was this whole series of them just kind of wreaking havoc and going to nightclubs and going to the Hamptons and all these different things. People are obsessed. And now you have the opportunity to create your own reality TV show for your own business, for your own mission, for your own vision. And one thing that I love to do and tell my clients to do is to make sure that you are really, truly treating it as a reality TV show, down to starting and stopping when your episodes air. Meaning, every single day, letting your audience know a new episode is airing, and you treat that entire day like an episode, and you take your audience on a journey, and you take them through what you're doing and why you're doing it. Now, there was a time, social media is always changing. There was a time where what was trendy and sort of quote unquote working was showing every single thing that you did. What are you eating? Where are you going? What time do you go to the gym? When are you on meetings? Show me every meeting you're on, right? What are you cooking for dinner? Now it's May of 2022. I'm finding that the need to show everything behind the scenes has lessened. People are less interested in every single thing you're doing and maybe just more ready for you just to tell me how I can work with you. What are you selling? Just tell me. We all know it's 2022. Social media is really very much used for marketing, especially Instagram. So people are expecting, just give me the details, right? Show me the behind the scenes. Let me fall in love with you. Let me make sure that you're the person for me or your product is for me. But then ultimately just tell me what it is that you're going to be selling me and sharing with me. And what do you have to give me? What type of value? There was a time a couple of years ago where mini trainings, they were called, were really popular, where someone would come on. I used to do it every single day, at least 3 times a week, and I would do a mini training. It was like a mini podcast episode or a mini YouTube video, a mini training where I was teaching you something specific, and then I would save it into my highlights. I have found that that is not as popular now. It is if you could do it really fast. But to go through 10, 12, 15 different frames of 15 seconds, it's not as popular as it once was. But I'm sure there are still some creators out there who find it to be very popular and people love consuming that. But treating it like an everyday thing. Can you start every day with, I know it seems boring and silly, but maybe there's something you do like pour your cup of coffee. And every morning you take a story or a boomerang or a video of you pouring your coffee. Now it's up to you if you want to make it educational, if you want to maybe slap a poll on there or a quiz, or maybe you put an inspirational quote every single morning. But this is the cue that tells your audience it's a new day. We have a new episode. Stick around. And then at the end of the day, there's something that you could do as well. You could just talk to the camera and let them know that you're sort of signing off for the day. You don't say that the episode's ending, but you just let them know you're sort of signing off for the day. Maybe you always post a picture of your nighttime bath or a glass of wine. I don't judge. For me, there were about 4 years where every single day I did a handstand in the morning where I'd put the phone under my face on hands-free, which actually I started doing this before hands-free was even an option. So I used to have to line my thumb up on the phone perfectly to hold down the button while I was in the handstand. And I called them morning handstand chats. And every morning I'd sort of just say a quote or something I read in a book, but I was in a handstand. And so it sort of was the cue for people to know, boom, it's a new day.
Hey,
Hey, I'm popping in real quick to let you know about a really incredible opportunity and offer, an invitation that the team and I are just putting out to the world. So I want to let you know about it while you're listening. It is Beyond Six Figures Mentorship, which is our newest container, but really it's not a new container at all. It's a reimagined, reinvented container that we just haven't held in a really long time. So Beyond Six Figures is a 6-month mentorship container, which is a really multifaceted approach to scaling your business, leadership, and income. I want you to think of it as 4 different parts. So part number 1 is going to be, of course, coaching and mentoring from me, as well as other industry experts. Part number 2 is all of the trainings and the portal or the course content that you're going to dive into whenever you want, wherever you want, and wherever you may be in your business. So I'm not walking you through this like a course that's step by step, but rather it's an entire course that you can dive into, whether you want to look at media and getting press and PR, you want to figure out how to hire your first person, you want to look at a new launch process, or maybe you want to launch your own podcast. All of this higher level content lives inside of a course that, of course, you get lifetime access to, but it's there for you to dive into whenever you need or want. Part number 3 is going to be the community that comes along with being in a high level container. And that community is people that you can collaborate with, of course, celebrate with, have those awkward conversations that not everybody else fully understands in your life. And let's face it, people to lean on and cry with, because scaling a business can feel really hard and heavy. And then the 4th part, which I am most excited about, oh my goodness, we have not done this since February or March of 2020, but it is an in-person mastermind retreat, which the idea of us all sitting around together inside of a cozy Airbnb with expansive views where we're going to get to learn from industry experts, the entire team at Digital Business Evolution, myself and each other, while eating yummy snacks and you know how it goes. I don't want to give away all the details, but the fact that we are bringing this back is so exciting. I've hosted dozens and dozens of retreats and events over the years, and I am literally jumping out of my skin with the idea that in August, we are going to be sitting together powwowing. I just cannot wait. So who is Beyond Six Figures for? Where can you find more information? Beyond Six Figures is for the coach or the entrepreneur who's already made money. Maybe you've even scaled kind of fast, so fast that the business is actually controlling you and you're kind of drowning in your work, working in the business all the time and never on the business. You definitely have clients and revenue, but you're looking to scale. Maybe you've built everything yourself completely organically or not, like I did, completely organically, and you know that it's actually beyond time to start outsourcing and delegating. But the fact of the matter is you don't have time to go looking for someone to hire, and you definitely don't have time to onboard or train somebody. And it's for the person who's hitting that consistent 10, 20, 30K month, maybe even 40K month. Maybe you're doing launch style stuff where you're hitting 50K launches, maybe 70K launches, maybe even consistent 30K launches, but you're ready to get to the next level. You've plateaued a bit. And so you really want to jump into the 50 to 100K month range, and you really want to look at hitting 6-figure launches. So the coolest thing is not only are you going to be learning from me and other industry experts, as I alluded to, but we are going to help you collapse time and navigate challenges with a zoomed out view of an unbiased perspective of your business. And when I say we, I mean the entire team at Digital Business Evolution. We're bringing in the big guns, and you're getting direct access to the leadership team at DBE. All things leadership, psychology, hiring, org chart, advanced launch systems, EPL, CPL, different types of marketing, bringing in affiliate programs, automations, restructuring your business, branding, reworking your messaging, the list goes on. So here's the deal. If you're interested in learning more, remember you are a seasoned entrepreneur or coach at this point. You're not a total newbie. You can head to the link in my show notes, all about Beyond Six Figures Mentorship, or best thing to do is just text me the word mentorship to 973-358-7836. Again, text me mentorship 973-358-7836, and we can start the conversation to see if you're a good fit. Beyond Six Figures Mentorship kicks off in June, and I would hate for you to miss the opportunity of a lifetime. Start and stop every day like it's a new day. It's a reality show, and you want to take people along the ride. Okay, take a deep breath, get your notebook. Maybe if you're driving, don't do that. And I'm going to talk real quick about 6 things to consider. We sort of already gone over some of these things, but when you're posting Instagram stories, the first thing I want you to consider is your camera angle. Now, we talked about the lighting and we talked about not being too close and being slightly off center, not being too far. But now what I want to talk about is the angle of which you're holding your camera. So if you're holding your phone like a selfie and it's out in front of you, a lot of times people will hold the phone down under their chin. We hold it down in front of us. Maybe we even post it down on our desk or a table, which is fine. I'm not saying you can't do this. But psychologically, when the camera is below your chin, below your eyes, below your nose, down by your chest, the way that someone is watching the video, you're now looking down at them. And so psychologically, it makes people feel less than. It makes people feel unsafe. So something that I like to do is make sure that I bring the camera up so that my phone is pretty much directly equal at the height of my eyes or slightly higher. Now, what you don't want to do is have it way up over your head where now you're looking up and your neck is kinked and it's just super awkward. But you do want to have it like eyebrow height or top of your head height. Now, this gives the appearance as though you're almost looking up to the person, which makes them feel a little bit more safe. Now, here's the thing. There's a time and a place. So what I like to do, take note now, you're going to see it. If I'm doing something like a training, if I'm coming on and offering a tip or a trick, if I'm teaching something that I'm an expert in, I will oftentimes have the camera a little bit lower. This psychologically helps me present as an authority member or an authority figure, I should say. And it gives me that instant credibility. I'm teaching you something. I'm here to show you something. But when I'm just chit-chatting, telling a funny story, sharing something that maybe isn't educational, I will hold the camera a little bit higher than my eyebrows or at eye level. So now we're equal height or you're slightly taller than me. And so psychologically, it drops the guard. Psychologically, it makes you feel safe. We feel relatable. We feel equal. And now me telling you a funny story is even funnier. A relatable story is even more relatable. The camera angle is very important. Okay, number 2, Instagram offers tons of engagement tools, and these tools are awesome to use for so many different reasons. So I'm specifically right now talking about the quiz feature, the poll feature, and the questions feature. So these are features that you can add to your Instagram stories to basically get your audience to engage with you. Now, we all know everyone's always worried about the algorithm, and one thing that's really important on social media is being social. And it's getting engagement and it's being engaging. So by utilizing these tools, you're now asking your audience, you're presenting and inviting them to an opportunity to engage with you. So you want to train your audience to actually engage with these tools. So something you want to think about is if you're always putting up quizzes or polls or questions that are scary to answer, that are thought-provoking to answer, that are kind of personal to answer, or that take time, remember, path of least resistance, they're probably not going to answer, and not that often. But if you pepper in really easy, silly things like, how do you set up your toilet paper? Do you do it over or under? Do you prefer crunchy or smooth peanut butter? Do you like peanut butter or almond butter? Are you a cats or a dogs person? If you're putting things in like that, you're sort of quote unquote training your audience to answer, because those questions are not scary to answer. They don't make people feel insecure. It's not them airing their dirty laundry. Where if you come in swinging and you're like, what's your biggest challenge right now? Most people aren't going to answer that. They're definitely not going to answer it if they don't feel like they have a relationship with you. So I would say 80 or 90% of the time, keep your polls and your quizzes silly. Keep them fun. Keep them thoughtless. Keep them about desert or mountain, beach or pool. Keep them really, really light. But also things like, help me pick my outfit. And then you put up 2 different outfits. Help me go to where I'm going to go on vacation. It's my birthday next week. How old am I turning? Where did I grow up? What college did I go to? Keep them light and fun 80 to 90% of the time, because this trains your audience to answer. And then when you come in with the big guns, when you come in with the big scary question, they're more inclined to answer because they're so used to already clicking and answering. Now, a huge tip for you, when you are using these tools for market research and you're asking questions about, what should you name your program, or what type of content do they want to see from you, or what bracket income do they fall in because you're creating a new course, or how many times does their stomach get bloated per week because you're thinking about creating something for the person with gut issues, whatever that might be. A huge mistake I see people make is that they ask these great questions, but then they do nothing with the answer. So pro tip, go back in, but right before it's going to expire. You can actually go back to the archives if it's already expired, but go back in before it expires. Go to the answers and take a screenshot, or if you have a ton of answers where you need to scroll, take a video recording, a screen recording of your phone or a screenshot. Take those pictures of those answers and then go pop them into a market research album in your phone. So I have a market research album and all of the quizzes and polls and questions that are important for me to understand my ideal client, to understand their verbiage, their language that they're using, their pain points, their pleasure points, their needs, their desires, their asks. I save all that. When I ask, who do you want to hear on my podcast? All of your answers are screenshot and they're popped over in my market research album. So when my team and I are sitting down going, okay, who are we going to invite on the show? I can go back and I can have all those answers right there in front of me. So the engagement tools on stories are huge for so many different reasons. Okay, third thing, make sure you're always writing on the screen. Now, Instagram offers a cool caption tool. They have a subtitle tool, and that's great. And I think you should definitely, use it and try it. But I still want you to write on the screen in addition to the captions tool, and here's why. The subtitle captions tool that basically transcribes what you say is very cool, but it transcribes it when you say it. And so if you're speaking for 15, 30, 45, 60 seconds, that's exactly how long it takes for someone to read it. Now, it's great for the person who's hard of hearing or who does not have sound on, which is actually most of us, but they still have to watch the whole thing. And as crazy as it seems, we humans don't really like to watch things for 15, 30, 45, 60 seconds anymore. So we usually click through or we swipe away, especially if our attention hasn't been grabbed. So in addition to using the captions tool, or even instead of using that captions transcription tool, I want you to write on the screen. Writing on the screen allows you to give a summary of what you're saying faster than them having to wait to see what it says. This is great to highlight key points, to create sort of visual charts and graphics. And I do this a lot with T-charts. I'll draw a line down the middle and I'll write stuff on the right, I'll write stuff on the left, or I'll draw things like maybe a Venn diagram with the draw tool, and then I'll write inside of it. Not only is it going to help with the summary, and it's a quick hit, people love getting that information instantly, they can then click through as fast as they want, but it's also expressing your personality. And it's helping create know, like, and trust. How you speak, the words you say, if you use jargon, if you use acronyms, if you know, right? IYNYN, LOL, we all know that one, BRB, right? Like we all know those acronyms. The way that you speak, your language, your jargon, the colors that you use, heck, the font that you pick. I don't have it written down right now. I believe Instagram's got something like 7 or 9 different fonts that you can use. Do you use the color behind your font or do you leave it plain? Are you layering your font? Are you changing the color of your font? Using something like font, putting captions on screen, is going to help with people who don't have sound on or who are hard of hearing, people who don't feel like watching the whole thing, which is most people with a short attention, which again is most people, and it creates that sort of interest, that desire. It draws you in. Now, this is crazy, and this is my personal belief. This is my personal opinion, not belief. I personally, sorry if this is you, can't stand when people write crooked, when they take the font and they tilt it sideways. Like that irks me. It gets under my skin. I can't stand it. So as silly as this is, psychologically, if somebody's writing on an angle, I'm disinterested. It's not that I don't trust the person or like the person or think they're a good human. I just don't like it. So I will generally swipe away. If people write on the screen in a font that I don't like, again, don't take this to heart, but Comic Sans, which is one of the fonts that Instagram offers, I don't like it at all. Like it's very elementary to me. It's very childlike to me. It's a font that I used in middle school, and I just don't think it has a place for me in consumption. Now, depending on what you're doing, for me, I think if you're working with children or your business is for children, like it's a really fun font for sure, but I can't stand it. I also don't like script. I think most of the script on Instagram is very difficult to read. So there are just certain fonts that I'm more drawn to. So are you. There's certain angles. There's left justified, center justified, right justified. I think it matters. And so for most of us visually, we're either attracted or not. And it goes down to the tiniest little things like how you're putting captions on the screen. Where are you putting them? How big is it? Is it in front of a shirt that's got flamingos on it and it's really hard to read? Or did you choose to use the white space that's over your shoulder? Things to think about when you're putting captions on screens. Next up, personality. This is number 4 or 5. I think this is 4. So personality is also using things like we were just talking about, fonts and colors, but also using things like stickers and gifs, or if you call them gifs, that's totally fine. Personality is inserting your flavor to what you're saying. So maybe it's talking about what's trending, it's adding humor, it's using the trending gifs and gifs that are popped up. Personality would be going into the gifs. I'm going to call them gifs. So if you call them gifs, that's okay. We can agree to disagree. It's not really an argument. That's what I call them. So it's going into the gifs and it's Googling or searching for something specific. Like for me, I oftentimes like to use Friends characters because Friends is definitely the best TV show out there. Period. End of story. In terms of childhood, growing up, oh my goodness, the dog. In terms of shows that have existed for a long time. And so if you too are a Friends fanatic, if you love Friends, just me using that GIF will make you attracted. It will connect us. You get me, I get you. So using these different stickers and visuals, not just the polls and the quizzes and the questions, but all of the other tools and fun features that Instagram offers is going to help create personality. Also doing things like maybe filters. I would say don't use them all the time. Definitely don't use the ones that are really busy because it's hard to consume, path of least resistance as we keep talking about. But how can you use filters or maybe black and white? Maybe you do things upside down. Maybe you write on the screen a lot with just a solid color in the background. Maybe you bring your personality in because you love taking photography, taking pictures, and you start to add that in. Maybe you love adding video and video edits in where you have some really cool transitions that you were creating things for Reels and now, or TikTok, and you're bringing it into your stories. Adding personality to your stories is huge. Remember, this is a reality TV show. So how can you add your flavor? How can you add your spice or your sauce where you're not just blandly talking to the camera? Adding personality is where it gets to be fun. Remember, you're the director, the producer, and the actor or actress. So don't be afraid to make it fun. Don't be afraid to create sort of loops of things that you do over and over again that you become known for. Add your personality, mess up on camera, laugh. I can remember so clearly a time, this happened more than once, that I would oftentimes do my Instagram stories or check my Instagram while I was eating lunch during my workday. And there was this time that I did this whole series of stories, and I didn't realize it until after, but I had a piece of lettuce in my tooth. And it was this funny thing that just made me human. It didn't matter. And I called myself out. I didn't delete all the stories and do them again. I had put so much effort into them, which I do on all of my stories. I think about the positioning and the lighting and what I'm going to write and how I'm going to write it and what gifs and stickers and stories and polls, what am I going to do to make it an experience for you? And so after I had posted it, I wasn't going to go back and do it again, but you better believe I did another story where I actually went back, held the screen down, took a screenshot, freeze framed, circled the lettuce in my tooth, and then posted it and laughed at myself. So that's personality. Number 5 is doing things like utilizing the location tag. So Instagram Stories allows you to have a location feature. And this could either be for a particular place. So you can literally Google the name of a restaurant that you might be at, or if you're at a movie theater or you're at a pool party or something like that. Or you can just utilize a location as geography, Phoenix, New York City, LA, Las Vegas, and you can add that to your stories. Now, the beautiful thing here is that number 1, it can help show people where you are, which my personal opinion is don't do it live. I don't really like to tell people where I am live. So if I go out to dinner and I want to tag, or it's called geotag, I want to tag a restaurant, I don't do it until after I've left because I just don't think it's important for people to know where I am at all times or if I'm out of the house, right? They don't need to know that. But it's great to even do it and hide it. So, perfect example, we were just in Las Vegas for a little mini team retreat vacation. And so on a lot of my Instagram stories, I would geotag the location, Las Vegas, or the hotel, Aria, or the nightclub, Omnia. And I would either allow it to be seen on the screen, or I would actually just put it behind words. So you can hide it. You can make it smaller and you can hide it behind words or stickers or gifs. And the reason that you're doing this is because by adding a tag, a geotag, or a location to your stories, you're now expanding your reach and your potential engagement. So what happens is anyone that's using those geotags, it populates in that area and your stories get pushed out to other people that are either searching for that particular area or whom are in that particular area. And again, this goes for towns or cities or states or countries, as well as actual restaurants or stores, actual locations. So you want to use these tags to help with engagement, to help with reach. The funny thing is, whenever I tag Las Vegas, even if I'm not there, which you could technically do, my story views go through the roof. It's crazy. They like 10x when I use the geotag Las Vegas. So something to think about. And you can hide those tags, just as you can hide tag tags. So if you tag a person or a company, you don't have to have it showing on the screen. You can make it small, you can slide it off center, off screen, or you can put it behind other words. And then the sixth and final thing to consider is value. Now, all content has value, and I teach this all of the time. Just as food has value, all food has value, broccoli has tons of nutrients and minerals and fiber and vitamins, and cookies are soul food. They're feel-good food. They taste delicious. They're so good. They're comfort food. You can't argue that both broccoli and cookies both have value. They just have value in a different capacity. And so all content has value. Sometimes it's a scroll stopper. It makes us think outside the box. It is a pattern interrupt. It stops what we're doing dead in the tracks, makes us laugh, makes us think. Sometimes content busts a myth, or it's just there to entertain. Cat memes, they make us laugh, right? Sometimes it can be really polarizing. Content can be valuable, educational, how-to content. It could create storytelling. It could create relatability. So all content has value, but something you want to consider when you are popping on stories, remember the very first thing I said today was, don't just talk to talk. Don't ramble. Don't post because you think you have to, but rather come on with an intention. Come on with purpose. It's not that everything that you say on stories has to be 5 ways to do X. It's not a training every single time, but what is the point of why you're coming on? Is it to pattern interrupt? Is it to share something funny? Is it to create relatability? Is it to teach? Is it to share your opinion? Is it a reshare of somebody else's something that you want to post to say, hey, I really loved this and you might too? Or this is perfectly said. There's no point in me re-saying it because I can't really say it any better. Or this is really funny and I think you'd like it. Think about what the value is of what you're coming on to do or to say. And the last thing I'll say as we put a bow on stories, this is always changing and it's personal opinion. But when you go to somebody's stories and they have 100 of those little dots at the top of the screen, meaning they have 100 little 15-second frames, that's overwhelming. And I think that that's a lot. They've shared, in my opinion, too many things for one episode, for one day. So just be mindful of how much you're sharing. I personally love 10 to 20 frames throughout the day. Really, 20 is like my goal. If I could share 20 frames throughout the day, a little bit of who I am and what I'm doing and behind the scenes and relatability, a little bit of value and how I can add and entertain or educate, a little bit of personality, maybe some thoughts, definitely some quizzes, polls, and questions. I do that every single day in some capacity, whether it's to quote unquote train the audience, like we talked about, to engage, or to actually get market research. That's going down in every single day, every single episode. So throughout the day, bring your audience on a journey, take them through. No, you don't need to write notes down ahead of time. You don't need a script. Definitely don't read off of a script. That's one thing I will say, do not do. People can feel that. It feels fake. It feels distant. Doesn't feel good at all. So Create the script in your head, create the flow in your head. If you've spoken to the camera for 7, 8, 9 frames in a row, that's a lot of frames. Give them a pattern interrupt. Something as simple as going outside, changing your background, walk while you talk, visually change what you're doing so we don't get bored of listening. Or quickly insert a couple pictures, still frames, boomerangs, change it up. Remember, people get bored really, really fast. Our attention span has gotten to be pretty short nowadays. People buy from people. People connect with people. So be human, be a person. All right, that is everything I want to say about Instagram stories, which was a lot of things. I could talk about this for days. I can do entire trainings for you on just even the tools alone, talking about the color picker and how you can make transparent overlays and all the different things we could talk about, rainbow font and text. But really, I feel that stuff is better off done in a training where you can actually see what I'm doing. So maybe if that's something you're interested in, let me know. DM me at I am Jessica DeRose or tag me on Instagram and definitely come let me know if that's something you'd be interested in, because I would love to do trainings like that. I geek out on this stuff. And as always, if this episode was helpful, please share it with the world. Post it up on social media. Tag me at I am Jessica DeRose, the Digital Business Evolution. I would love to hear your biggest takeaways because that lets me know that I'm on the right path and I'm teaching you exactly what it is that you want to learn. And if you're feeling like this was great and you want to dive in a little bit deeper, I would definitely encourage you to head over to my website and find our program called Engaged Audience. So Engaged Audience is a self-paced program where I go much deeper into the psychology of all of your content, not just stories, but I'm going to talk about your hard posts, your feed content, your content pillars, how you speak, what you say, and what really gets people to move. And my favorite thing to do as being a listener, is to give you some little gifts. So if you use code Jess10, Jess 10, Jess10, you're going to receive 10% off Engaged Audience, which is an incredible gift. So head on over, Engaged Audience, you can find it, learn all about the psychology of learners, the psychology of buyers, what gets people to move, and how to really spice your content up. I hope you love this episode, and I can't wait to see you on the next one. As always, cheers to your evolution. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you loved this episode, I invite you to be a part of our ripple effect and share it with a friend. And please, if you feel called, take 30 seconds to leave a 5-star review, and I'll be forever grateful. Until next time, cheers to your evolution.